Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of 6 Degrees of Pod. I'm here with Ross Murker. He's a former coworker of mine at a technology company, and he's going to talk about a program he has called Plus One Good that's about building your life around. And I'm not going to talk about the details for him. I'm going to let him go ahead and do that. So, Ross, if you want to tell everybody who you are and what this Plus One Good program is about, I'm sure they'd love to hear about it.
Well, thank you very much, Seth. As you mentioned each other from a technology company,
Yes.
and at that time I was married, and shortly after I left that tech company, been sick while I was there, but about 3 years after I left, she passed away,
Mhm.
and I was devastated. Not here for sympathy or anything like that, but it crushed me. One of my other friends who was a little on the grief that I was having tried humor. He said, "You know the first rule of holes, right?" Which, of course, when you're in one, stop digging. But it just, this epiphany, this moment, this lightning strike happened. And I looked at him, I said, better time to check my foundations. Now, that's
That's
not
true.
what I'd been doing, but just that interaction, that interplay put me there. And I started trying on and applying all the different self-help stuff I'd ever read.
Hmm.
Does this work for me? Does that work for me? Does this work with that? Does that work with this? And I kept notes. And I didn't really know why I kept notes at the time, other than that, well, I've already tried this, dismiss
Hmm.
it because it didn't work out. But a little while later, a few years later, another mentor of mine said, because I was asking, what can I do that is of legitimate service that may not necessarily be conventional job employment?
Hmm.
And he was the one who told me, what did past you need that you have?
Okay.
The light came on, and plus one good formula was born. And it line, if life is a game, here's a hint, it is. But if life is a game, who's right?
Okay.
And I've thrown in pieces from the first Rocky movie, Poppins. You wouldn't think those two would go together, but there's pieces of them that do quite nicely. And several other fundamental things that I had that worked together basically helped me rebuild my life from square one.
Okay. So you experienced this tragedy, and I can't imagine it. I mean, that's terrifying to me. As you know, I've experienced loss too, and seen the grief that people go through as well, but not a spouse or anything. Thank God. Um, but close family members suddenly taken away and stuff, and there is a grief process that happens that I don't think people that haven't gone through that understand how much that can impact you and how it just tears you apart. And it
Yeah.
sounds like this happened to you, and the level of devastation basically tore the house down to its foundation, and you wanted to rebuild it, right?
Yep, that's
Okay.
exactly the metaphor.
Okay.
That they're useful, they're descriptive.
Mhm.
A lot of times, parents all do the best they could with raising kids, and a lot of people aren't taught how to process feelings
Mhm.
of any kind, intense feelings of any kind, especially the bad ones.
Right.
And so I really didn't know what to do with mine. I mean, I was in my mid 40s,
Hmm.
and not mature enough to appropriately deal with what I'm through.
Right.
And so I just kind of put it on a shelf for the time. I mean, it was a fact, but I wasn't really going through it. I was kind of trying to go around it, trying to build past it.
Right.
And it worked when it needed to.
Hmm. And do you think that,
And
that's
then
like
I've
a cultural problem that we have, especially, sort of that male idea of like bottle it, push it down, and ignore it, and we just don't know how to deal with intense emotions, especially when it comes to loss, because there's such permanence to it.
oh yeah, man up, drink heavily. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
exactly. Yeah.
that part of talk, I think.
Hmm.
And that I was using to beat myself up with, because I heard it often enough. I'd internalize some of it,
Yeah.
not enough to be severe. Uh, the opinions of other people really didn't matter that much.
Hmm.
Um, but still, it was something I did not know. I did not have a process I felt confident in to go all the way into it, get through it, and come out the other side.
Hmm.
So I had to build scaffolding around it and live outward past as time as I could get back to it and process it. And
So it's
fortunately,
like
it's been long enough.
I was just gonna say it's like you like you said, you shelved it and you're building a scaffolding around it to avoid it, and but eventually it's like a roundabout. You're just gonna have to come back around to it eventually and build an exit out, right? Like,
Yes.
so you how did you approach that process of like where did you even how did you know where to start? Like, there's so many different sort of like self-help books and stuff like that, and it's you're down to the foundation now. How do you know where to build the first timbers? You know, like,
Well, it comes down to what do you have to by way of personal qualities. I resist the word values because marketers have beat, but what do you consider good?
mm-hmm,
Your personal integrity, your work ethic, your desire to serve, your ideas around good health.
okay,
And you still lift?
yes, yes,
Yeah, that's part of Seth is strong.
yes.
You
I
wear a
find it
shirt that
as
says
a I find it I find lifting as an integral part to my overall health, mentally and physically. In the times that
yeah,
I can't do that, I do feel like I'm missing out on taking that vitamin, that way to relax. I mean, that working in technology can be extremely stressful, and then as you progress through adulthood and getting older and you have more responsibilities, it becomes very stressful, and you need that outlet, that little bit of health that you can hold on to. So that's something that even if I'm not going to make, it's not like I'm reaching for national level numbers or Olympic. Who cares? I don't care about that. Like, it's like, this is like this hour or hour and a half that I have where I can mentally unwind and physically exert myself in a way that gives me overall peace of mind, basically.
take it to the altars of iron and steel. And if you're stronger
Exactly.
than you
The
were
Church of
last
Iron.
month, yeah, and if you're stronger than you were last month, that's what
Hmm.
counts.
Yes.
Yeah, or as strong.
Yeah.
And see, all of that is really cool if that because that's your thing more than mine, but I enjoy it also.
Yes.
And different people have different ideas about what constitutes good health, what constitutes fitness, what constitutes strength, and they build up from there. A lot of people never really had cause to give it a real deep consideration.
Hmm.
Where, well, am I doing this because I'm supposed to? Am I doing this because somebody on me often enough? I should on myself. I should do this. Oh, I
Right.
should go running. I should go for a long, you know, I should be more physically active. No, no shoulds. There's no should in this formula.
Okay.
It's value, and then figuring out how to get to what you value.
Okay.
And basically, if life is a game, who's writing the rules? Who's keeping score? The plus one good
Yeah.
formula is one method of keeping. It makes sense. So if you happen to have any internal feelings or voices that say, man, you're a loser, you didn't complete your goal, you didn't hit
Yeah.
your plan, you didn't, you know, for people who have having a plan that also acts as a journal, you have physical evidence. Hey, I have this much success,
Okay.
and all of a sudden we're plus one good.
Okay. I actually like this concept. It's almost like a gamification of these of finding your value in goods. Like, what are you accomplishing? Because I think, like you were saying, there's that. Oh, I should do this. I should do that, and it's almost like a form of imposter syndrome, where I don't know if people are familiar with it, but it's that internal voice that's like, I'm gonna get found out that I don't really know what I'm talking about. Like a perfect example is like I'm a software developer, but I'll be sitting there sometimes. There's the volume of information that people need to know as software developers is like ever expanding, and there's no way I could ever capture it all. It's always specific. You know what I mean? But there's a nagging thing in the
Do
back of
you
my
have
head
the
going,
tool to fix this issue?
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's a nagging voice in the back of my head, that imposter syndrome, that's like, I'm gonna get found out that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I've conned myself into this position for 12 plus years. You know what I mean? Even 12 plus years of industry, and in the back of my head, it's like, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. They're gonna find out, and so that's like kind of an example of that should have voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's another. I'll give you a comparison.
Okay.
Both party A and party B are moving their homes. They're moving from one home to another.
Okay.
Both of them say, I'm going to unpack 10 boxes today, this afternoon. Person one only unpacked 6 boxes out of the 10 they said they were going to. Man, I
Right.
failed to keep my word to myself. I didn't unpack the 10 boxes. I failed. This stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Person two, same move, same 10 boxes, same afternoon, same plan. Person two says, I planned to unpack 10 boxes. I didn't quite, but I did. And so I know I have room to grow. Consider how realistic my plan is. And I got
Mm-hmm.
those 6 good about that.
Okay.
Same situation, radically different attitudes. And which way would you be living?
The second one. Yeah, definitely the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can also think of another example. This I'm sure this happens a lot to people, especially during New Year's resolutions and stuff. It's the whole dieting thing. People are like, "I'm gonna eat perfectly for the rest of the year," and then they mess up a little bit. Which is in the
And it's blown.
in the long haul, it's no big deal. But then they're like, "Forget it. I'm gonna quit completely." Sky's the limit, and it just crashes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. And then they wind up looking like me.
no,
No.
no, no.
Um, one of the fundamentals, one of the principles that this program is built on is called Pearson's Law. Are you familiar with it?
I am not.
The first part of Pearson's Law states that that which is measured or observed increases or improves. I was looking for some serious improvement. Duh.
Okay.
Part two is the key to the whole. That which is measured or observed, recorded, reported, and rewarded improves or increases drastically.
Okay.
There are 96 15-minute intervals in a 24-hour clock. Close enough to 100 that 15 minutes could be 1% of your day.
Okay.
Have you read the Compound Effect?
What? Say that again.
Have you read the book The Compound Effect by Darren?
No, but I think I've heard of
Considered
it.
a
I just haven't
business
read
book
it.
mostly.
Okay.
But the fun part is where you sit zero.
Okay.
You are convinced you have no success at all. You record every day what you the major thing you did in that 15-minute segment for
Okay.
a segment. Plan for that 15 minutes that you're going to do. Whether it's sit and meditate, whether it's read, whether it's low hanging sleep, which is not really that low hanging fruit if you're depressive.
True.
Thing.
Yeah.
But you pick that 15-minute segment and you track it.
Okay.
Here's where the Mary Poppins comes in every to be of fun. Find it and poof, the job's a game. Well, in order to find it, you're striking in on your own life.
Okay.
Distance, a little bit of perspective. Maybe those heavy emotions are still there, but you've got to climb out a bit to see what's going on.
Okay.
So you pick that 15-minute segment. You say, I'm going to sleep from midnight to midnight every day for the second week. And you keep track. Did you sleep?
Okay.
If you did, you are now 1% living your life on your purpose.
Okay.
You're
So it
writing
doesn't
your
even
own
matter.
rule for your own game.
Right. So it doesn't even matter. I think a lot of people would take those, there's a mindset and they want to take those 15 minutes and accomplish something amazing or huge, but it's not that. It's not that. It's just being intentional with those 15 minutes. And whether that's I need sleep for these 15 minutes to recuperate my mental state, that is good enough. And that is you've won those 15 minutes, basically.
Yep. I need to sit upright and breathe with discipline for people who are otherwise physically disabled. It's still kind of ableist because so much of it is about folks. I mean, I'm habitually active because tech work is very sedentary.
Yeah.
And I know that I could very easily weigh 400 pounds, which for me would be a nightmare. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Concept of weight. I've had my challenges. I'm recovering my body conformation and body composition to where I want it to be to enjoy life a little bit differently.
Yeah, to live the way you want to live, like
exactly,
do the things you want to do. Yeah.
And that key to the formula is that it's people writing their own rules, not me judging and shooting on them and saying, "Oh, well, you should take the first 15 minutes and do this. You should take 15 minutes and do that. You should take before bed and do this other." It's not me. That's not for me to say. But as people record what they're doing and start recording their purpose for additional segments every week, one 15-minute segment out of a day, okay, I'm successful in my day. Another 15-minute segment, regardless of where it falls on the clock, I'm successful for 2%. And if you look in the dictionary, the definition of success does not mention magnitude. It does not mention duration. All it says is the accomplishment of a purpose.
That's a really good point.
In order to be a success, I must $1. In order to be a
Right.
success, I percent body fat, and it's got to be less than,
Mm-hmm.
or a waistline of X, or it. And that's fine if that's how you choose to define your major success.
Mm-hmm.
How about giving yourself steps you take along the path to get there? How about enjoying the journey? And how about evidence that you're taking your journey on purpose?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's like a lot of people are thinking of the big goal, and they just get overwhelmed. It's like
So,
the New Year's resolutions are a perfect example. People make these huge goals, and
mhm.
then if it doesn't happen immediately, they get so you know depressed about it that they just they're like, I'm done. But if they could keep track of those small wins, it could be self reaffirming basically and help push you along.
Yeah, instant gratification is a thing.
Hmm.
There's also a degree. Somebody told me once that a professional mountain climber only
Hmm.
sees the top of a mountain twice, once before they start and once when they're standing on it. Everything else is next step.
Yep, yep. That's a great analogy. The mountain climbing thing is a process. I mean, a lot of people. This might be a problem with the way things are portrayed in media and stuff, but people always just see the finale. Like, I don't know if you saw that movie Free Solo, with about Alex Honnold, and he summited El Cap. Um, my point was that the media a lot of times portrays the instant gratification, and even in that movie, I mean, it's a 2-hour movie. You see him scaling El Cap with no ropes, no nothing. It's just him, right? Um,
2 hours. How long did
and
it take him to actually do it?
it oh gosh, he had the world record. I want to say it was like 6+ hours, but what they didn't talk about was the months and months in, I mean, probably a year and a half or more, that it took him to train for that. I mean, they bring it up and stuff, but they don't. the
Strengthening
The
the
movie
fingers at
only
the
is
first
two
joint.
hours. Yeah, yeah, and how many they talk about it briefly, but I don't think people realize how many times he probably ascended that mountain with ropes, with gear, and he knew every little handhold, every little place he had to be. The whole thing was planned, and everybody just thinks he just jumped on a mountain and started climbing, and it's like, no, it's those small iterative steps. And I think that, like you were talking with the one plus good, it's like you need to see these iterative steps that you have to go through to accomplish these bigger things.
Well, it helps. People who live their lives completely happy, completely successful, never kept a journal, never journaled a single
Right.
day. And there's other people who have 14 different journals that they don't complete more than a week or two in, who
Hmm.
the journal is not the
Right.
the journal is the tires. Um, it's just a smooth pavement to drive on because you have that record. You can go back and you say, this particular segment of time isn't working for me with this purpose. Let's try something different.
Okay.
Or, my gosh, something happened that was even planned.
Mm.
The planning,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
purposeful planning is not the be all end all because you can miss out on quite a bit outside your plan, but it's a starting place. It's a
Right.
foundation. It's, for lack of a better word, home.
Okay.
Best
So
things in life
yeah,
don't
this is
necessarily
this.
happen at home, but
Yeah,
that's home.
this is something I was going to ask about the journaling that you're talking about. Is one thing that you're trying to avoid is the loss of a purpose of a particular section of time, right? You want an intentional time, but um, how would people, if they were journaling like this, uh, take into account that just because the plan changed for those 15 minutes, that's not a failure? Do you know what I mean? Like, things
Well,
happen. You might plan at 15 minutes, but something might happen, and you have to go. adjust, basically.
Right, right. And there is room in the journal for adjustment. There's all kinds of room for notes.
Okay.
And being that their purpose may change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh,
Okay.
we grow, we expand, we learn, we change priorities.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference between floating along by any current breeze into, oh, I'm off purpose. Or
Mm-hmm.
somebody makes some random comment and, oh, yeah, gosh, they're right. I don't like that much.
Right, right.
And so it becomes a matter of, okay, retreat to what I know I am, retreat to what I know my ideals are,
Okay.
and see, is what I'm doing in alignment with my ideals. It may be I'm studying a different language every month, just
Okay.
enough to say hello, where's the bathroom, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm studying Spanish becomes I'm studying French, becomes I'm studying whatever, or you can go into whatever languages, but I'm learning something new in that 15-minute period. I'm learning
Oh, okay.
something
Yeah,
different. I'm expanding my learning horizons. I am a learning person.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it becomes, there are some people who prefer to direct very focused, and that's fine too. But if I'm studying French, becomes I'm geography in that 15 minutes because they're on YouTube or some such. That's
Mm-hmm.
not a.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, can you explain I mean, you kind of described the program in its broad views and stuff, but where do you actually see this happening? Like, is this going to be a journal that you're selling that has, or like you've constructed that has the tools and the sort of the exercises that to help people find those little purposes, and or is this going to be a, like an actual book that you're going to write, or like what's the
I
form that this is going to take?
book that I have written
Mm-hmm.
and have edited.
Okay. Okay.
I in a 1 week course that will be available soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
I am considering a membership for those who are more patient or perhaps not as financially ready to in a course.
Okay.
I have a 1 day intensive planned that will be a serious investment.
Okay.
And then see, ebook. Oh yes, and I will be, once I find a publisher that I can work with, work an undated planner journal, which I
Okay.
plan on making the day sheets available for that planner journal. Just an email address.
Okay. Okay. So it would be like, if you worked with a publisher to do that, people could get the day planning sheets for free, but if they bought the thing, it might come with the first, section of day planning stuff, but it might also have the little exercises to help you kind of fill these out, and kind of a how-to, and what is the
Oh yeah,
purpose, and it
yeah.
would kind of explain. Yeah.
The the printed planner journal will be offered, and a good, half of the cost will be the actual film
Yeah.
and the rules. The sheets will be downloadable with a simple set of instructions that somebody can just, okay, this is where I start. This is enough to get started. Whereas the planner journal will be enough to, run out the journal ideas on, what do I do if this plan isn't working for me the way I hoped, or what do I do if my schedule changes?
Yeah.
You know, work a job and all of a sudden they're working a different shift. Uh-oh,
Mm-hmm.
now what?
Yeah.
One of the reasons I designed the sheets 24 hours is because there are so many people who are so underserved with day runners, weekly planners, you name it, that only have daytime hours on them.
Yeah, yeah. Like I
You've seen
personally,
them?
yeah, I actually, I've been trying to use something that is similar to what you're talking about. And they want you to plan your time and like what your goals are for the day and stuff. But I did notice that the day doesn't start in those planners until like 7 or 8 in the morning, and then it ends at like 9. And I'm like, sometimes my work day starts at 4:30 in the morning because I have to do like some early server upload or like deployment off hours. So it doesn't, I'm like putting margin notes like actually started at 4:30, kind of thing. But
Yeah,
it's not reflective of the way my schedule might shift a lot of days. So
yeah. And
yeah.
then again, too, you do so many different specific things in your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine you're already thinking about, well, purpose this 15 for that and this 15 for this other, and to check on a cron job or an
Yep.
upload or whatever.
Yep.
And there are people who would be just as happy putting in a W for
Right. Right.
on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are a lot, they get involved in resenting their current employment for whatever reason. I'm one of them, or at least I used to be. Before I
Yeah.
reminded myself that, hey, I chose to do this,
Mm-hmm.
chose to use this as part of my to where I want to be, which is full-time serving people with the plus one good formula.
Okay, so that was going to be another question I was going to ask you is you're hoping to turn this into an actual like nine. I don't want to say a 9 to 5 because nothing's really 9 to 5, but like
No,
you want
it
to
will
do
be
this
my
full time.
business. Yes,
This will be your business.
finding clients and serving them. Finding clients who want the certainty
Mm-hmm.
of being able to automate and habituate their own successes on their own terms, in their own time, whatever that might be for them,
Mm-hmm.
without being should on.
Yeah.
Those are my folks. Those are the folks I want to find. Those are the folks I want to find me
Right.
and
Right. And
connect.
yeah, and it's been, for lack of a better phrasing, this has been battle tested by you, like in the field. Like this is the way that you recovered from such a devastating event, right?
The plus one good formula was developed in the laboratory of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have come from the devastation of being widowed, losing a home, yay close to homeless, and that yay
Mm-hmm.
was an eviction notice,
Ooh.
to full-time employed, beautiful home, decent car,
Mm-hmm.
and oh yeah, by the way, when I lost my wife, I weighed almost 375 pounds, and now I'm down to 3
Nice.
and aiming. I could weigh 300. It depends how much upper body I build,
Yeah.
but for me, it's about the waistline and about a certain body fat percentage that I want
Mm-hmm.
to stay below,
Yeah.
because that way my body will last, the frame will
Mm-hmm.
last, and I will be able to live as long as I live
Right.
and not just exist.
I think yeah, just existing. Nope. I think that's something that a product or a service like yours can really help people with, is because there's probably a lot of people out there that just feel like they're existing. Like they're like, why
Oh,
am I
no
even
doubt.
here? Like I'm just going through the motions and I don't have a goal. I don't have a passion. I don't have anything, and they haven't taken that time to sit down and try to figure this out.
You triggered me with one. Goals are fine if you're a hockey player or a soccer player. Plans are good if you're an architect.
Mm-hmm.
Destination for ideal destination.
Mm-hmm.
I like a word with destiny built right in, because once you know, all you got to do is go.
Right.
and it'll pull you toward it. The better you define it, the sharper you idealize it in your own mind, the more it will pull you in some odd directions.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe whatever channel, I won't say rut, you were wasn't going to get you there. Ask you a quick question. Are you still local to Western Washington?
Yes.
Okay. What direction would we go, general compass direction would we go to get to Disney?
South.
Southish, maybe southwestish, just a tiny bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if we're in Houston and I ask you, how do we get to Disneyland? And you tell me south by southwest, we could go south by southwest a long time and never get to Disneyland from Houston.
Right.
The plus one good formula, one of its 6 principles is about your where
Okay.
you are, how you are, who you are, how you got to where you are, how you feel about where you are. It's all about clarifying.
Okay.
Because the sharper you can make the point of origin and the sharper you can make the point of destination, thinner and easier the line between the two.
Yeah, I really like that analogy, because if you don't know where you're starting or where you're finishing, you're going to be all over the map. You're going to try, and just hope that you hit that destination, you know?
Drifting is nice, but I don't know
Yep.
of anybody that wound up summiting Mount Rainier just because they woke up there one morning.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Not to say it couldn't happen, but betting money says otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. The statistics are not in your favor for that, to say the least. So, um, how do I put this? Um, how does the system help you to identify that starting point?
Almost anything can be measured,
Okay.
usually in terms of something you did or something you felt, or something you felt about something you did. And recording it, once you get past that judge, that, oh man, this is weak sauce. Once you get past that judgment, way back to observer,
Uh
and
huh.
say, hey, here's little dude, or here's person. Person is doing this. There's always a start level. Doesn't
Okay.
matter where it is. Could be foundational, could be what do I consider important? Because just about everybody has something they consider important. Quick disclaimer, this is not meant to be mental health treatment. For people who are that deep in grief or depression or anxiety or whatever, please see a mental health professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get treated, get diagnosed, get help. Please, you deserve the help. Be gentle with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Be gentle with yourself in this process. And with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's good to know, because
It's not,
if it can help,
please,
it's not meant to be a primary thing, but it could be a good supplemental, basically.
and each person has to judge for themselves how much support they need. This is designed for people who are capable of taking of initiative and applying it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is built, please, please, if you're considering getting it so you have yet one more self-help stick to beat yourself with, do
Right.
not
Right.
buy a club to beat yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
Not mine, anyway. because I feel proprietary about it. I
Right.
designed this out of so many different disparate pieces. From outside, you say, well, that's simplistic, that's mechanistic.
Hmm.
Compliments. So many other people are doing the woo, the law of attraction, the
Right.
secret.
Right.
I'm a
Yeah.
little more engineer than that. I want something that'll work the road.
I'm with you on this as a computer person, as somebody in tech. It's the when rubber
Digital.
hits the road. Yeah, very. And it's really annoying for these most of these self-help books where they're just kind of like, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. The secret, a law of attraction. I'm like, that just doesn't work. That's, like you said, it's woo, and it's so
It can.
right, but it's so dismissive to people that have, something working against them, or some tragedy or something like that. And for every success story you hear about The Secret or one of these like attraction things, there's hundreds of people that are like, I'm trying so hard and I'm not getting anywhere, and it kind of seems a disservice to them.
If there is a hole, acknowledge the hole. If you're not in a personally with the energy and the resources to investigate the hole, build a fence around the hole, put up signs warning hole, and build outward. Forward, there's a hole. It's always with us, even though it's behind us in time. It's always with us.
Right.
We never fill the hole. It doesn't get filled. We build our lives away from it, outside it.
Mm,
It's a part of the life. It's
right.
there. But we build around it. You've seen the skyscrapers getting built in Seattle. What's the first thing they do after the plans get approved?
Build a
They
foundation.
dig a 40-foot hole
That, yeah, for the foundation. Yeah, exactly.
and they measure it out and they laser it out and they level it out and they pour concrete and rebar to strengthen the sides.
Hmm.
And a few months later, they might start building above ground.
Right, right.
But the bigger, the taller the building they want to build upward, the deeper the hole they dig.
Mm, yeah,
So, to anyone who might be in a hole currently, it's okay.
right.
It's okay to be there. Take some measurements, check your foundations.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. Uh, do you mind me asking how this system or your experience helped you with I don't want to say overcoming the grief, because you never really overcome it, but integrating it so that you could continue to build and move forward, because that grief can be so devastating and some people just don't recover from it.
As I built it and refined it and refined it and refined it and got perfectionist about it because I was a perfectionist, it occurred to me that some part of it was building a legacy for her.
Hmm.
It occurred to me that I am keeping the promise that I made to her before she passed, and that just hanging on by the fingernails wasn't keeping the spirit of the promise. Continuing.
Right.
No, no, I need to be living. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live.
Mm,
It's not just survive.
yeah.
Eventually, not just live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's coming. That's around coming. And the
That's right.
memories. One of my friends, beautifully, that I use it every time I hear of someone's loss.
Hmm.
Memory of love outweigh the grief of loss.
Mm,
That's all
that's
you can
nice.
hope for.
Yeah.
It does. It
Hmm.
does. We had so many. I wouldn't trade a single minute.
Okay. Wow.
Had I known on our wedding day how things were going to break out, I wouldn't have traded a minute.
Right, right. Yeah. And I mean, not even for, say, the passing of somebody, but those, um, you know,
Oh,
those life
other
events that are
stressors,
difficult
job
and
loss,
stuff. Just, yeah, yeah.
vehicle
It's like
blowing up.
yeah, it's like I wouldn't trade this for that to remove that at all. You know what I mean?
No,
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
my dog.
yeah.
Chances
Mm-hmm.
happen. If you know foundation and you know how, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if nothing else, there's a basement there.
Right, right.
If a tornado takes the house off the top at ground level, you've still got a
Mm-hmm.
site to build on.
Yes. Yeah.
And you still know
Mm.
what's important about, okay, how high do I want the walls? As long
Mm-hmm.
as they contain love,
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know,
Hmm.
then you have
Um.
purpose.
Yeah, yeah. And that can be your purpose. I mean, or at least it can animate your purpose. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
If
Uh.
some people say, well, I don't have a purpose with a capital P. I don't have a major purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, be happy. Because what you are,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'll go into a little bit of the woo here and talk about happiness is such a much higher vibration.
Mm.
I'm happy because I'm living life on purpose. I'm happy because I'm recovering what health I can on
Yeah.
purpose. I'm happy because I'm treating my body I want to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Happy because I'm clearing my focus mentally
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
what this means, whatever their ideal is. And it might change,
Mm-hmm.
but that's okay because the habits that got you moving toward one are kind of habits that will. Somebody said, how we do anything is how,
I've heard that
and I
before.
have grief with that. So I picked at it and picked at it. How we are is how we do most things.
Mm.
How we want to be seen is how we do the rest.
Mm.
You've been to a job interview, you know, on
Yeah.
my best
You got to
game. If I'm on
put on that
Facebook,
hat.
I
Yeah.
put my best face forward. How we want to be seen, we can maintain for a set period of time, and then it devolves into how we are.
Mm. Yeah.
So, does it not make sense to be who we are on purpose
Yeah.
instead of being who we are as a result of the habits we built through reacting to our circumstances throughout our lives?
Mm. So be who you are based on the your purpose as opposed to the things that
Accident.
occurred to you and then is on accident and that being the
Yeah.
driver. Instead, your purpose is your driver. Yeah, yeah. The interview analogy got me because I'm just thinking like when you're in tech, you're like, I'm smart. I'm gonna put on this professional intellectual hat and stuff, and it's totally obvious. The mask is
How
it's like
would you
barely
solve
hanging
this
on.
software issue? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oops.
yeah. In my most recent interview, in my job, just a funny story and stuff. Like a lot of times, the problem with those kind of interview questions are people will fake the answer because even if they don't know it, and then it just looks really bad because they'll go on forever about like, oh, I would do it this way, and it's just completely in the wrong direction. They asked me a question about the Fibonacci sequence, which I won't get into what that is, but it's a math problem. And for some reason, I mean, I know what it is, but they wanted me to write some code to do it. And my brain just deleted that. I was like, I don't even remember how that starts. I don't remember how it works. And so I sat there and stared at the board for like 2 or 3 minutes, and eventually I just go, you know what? I don't know. And I was like, but I can
X3
tell you what
equals
it does.
X1
Yeah,
plus X2.
yeah. But I was like, I can't do this for you right now. I could tell you what it is and how I would do it, but I'm not going to, I was like, I'm pretty sure my number sequence is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, that's fair. Like, you know,
Yeah. And
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
More, I think what they're looking for than anything else is the honesty,
yeah.
because nobody can know everything. And people who claim to and try to belief system their way through it,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't do
It,
so
it
well.
it becomes very apparent when somebody is just putting on that hat and kind of faking their way through it. Now being on the flip side, where I've actually been on the interview, like, side of the desk, I've seen somebody just spin a yarn for like 10 minutes, and you're kind of looking around like this person has no idea what they're talking about, but they refuse to admit it. And it's like you would rather them just go, I don't know, but this is how I think I would do it. Like, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Thank you
Yeah.
for your time.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get back with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like you said that you wanted to make this, your permanent job, which is really cool. Have you thought about doing public speaking on this kind of stuff too? Like, I know you talked about a class, but what about? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hang on for just a second. I got something
Yeah,
I
no
got to show
problem.
you. I don't know how well it's going to come. I spent 3 years earning this.
Distinguished Toastmaster. So I've seen you on Facebook talking about this, and can you explain to me what a distinguished Toastmaster is? Because it seems like it has to do with public speaking, but I was not sure on exactly what it was.
Toastmasters is a close to 100-year-old organization designed to help leaders and
Okay.
confident in public speaking ability. I be more confident in my ability to speak
Mm-hmm.
to large groups coherently, cohesively, messages across in good structure and good time.
Okay.
I joined a local club of Toastmasters International, and I heartily
Mm-hmm.
encourage anyone who has the goal of public speaking confidence to do the same.
Okay.
Distinguished Toastmaster is the highest award one can earn internal to Toastmasters International. They
Okay.
have one other award, accredited speaker, that one has to go outside the club and act groups that are not Toastmasters
Uh,
professionally, and they
okay.
set standards for that. And if you achieve those, then they will consider whether you'll be an accredited speaker or not.
Wow.
And I achieved my goal.
Yeah.
I hit distinguished Toastmaster, and I am confident that what I learned and what I developed in the practice
Mm-hmm.
of speaking with Toastmasters International, both at club and higher levels, got me to where I can be comfortable with a group who are there, in fact, to listen.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
one of the things I will be doing is recording a video that goes into some of the concepts, some of the principles, and some of the wonderful results offered,
Mm.
because it's not the instant gratification of standing,
Mm-hmm.
but about learning the process and applying the process over and over
Mm-hmm.
and over, and recording and scoring and high score of the game that is your life, until you just, oh, I happen to be standing on my summit. Isn't that
Right.
cool? And enjoying the process.
Uh-huh.
That negative feedback versus positive feedback. If you can only pick one, which one's going to get you where you want to go?
Positive feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
Feedback, you're not climbing the mountain, you're not climbing the mountain, you're not climbing the mountain. is that helping you climb the mountain or just helping you resent needing to?
Right. You might get so frustrated with that process that you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You say, hey, to base camp, you made it to paradise on foot. That's cool. It's not,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking this is a terrible like analogy probably, but I'm just thinking about so just a little story of me growing up and stuff. I played basketball as a kid, and we're just talking peewee level, like
Mm-hmm.
grade school, middle school time frame. Um, I had severe asthma, but I wanted to play, and I would like to have gotten better. But all we got from those coaches at that time, and there's tons of stories I have about this, was negative reinforcement. Like if we were doing bad, they would just bring us into the like cafeteria area and just yell at us for the entire halftime. They would throw chairs during the games. I mean, it was pretty extreme. Like me and a really good friend of mine have tons of stories about this. Um, and there was actually one game where they threw chairs into the court and got ejected from the game, and we had to play the second half of the game with no coaches.
I bet
like,
you did better.
uh, we did, but this is like something that I it was so negative that at one point my friend and I actually quit the team and we went to a different team, and that was way better. I mean, I still didn't get to play as much because I had asthma. I would ask to get taken out because I could feel it like kicking in, and I'd be like, I gotta be pulled. You know what I mean? But I wanted to
Yeah.
continue to get better. But even then, the negative reinforcement continued from these particular coaches. They found us one time, like, because we had to play against them, and we're like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." And then they're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you guys. Why'd you guys switch teams?" And they're still like doing this negative reinforcement, and it just made me not want to play. Like, I was like, I
Mm.
don't want to deal with this. If this is what it's going to be like, I don't want to do this. You know. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just harsh.
yeah. It was really harsh. It makes for
And
really good stories, but it was harsh.
it's just the thing there. Are I don't know if you've seen the concept in art of what they call negative space, where you draw on everything that is not a chair and you wind up with a chair. It's a
It's
long way
yeah,
around, but it
yeah,
works.
yeah.
And not so much for the negativity that they put on your kids,
Hmm.
but looking at that and going, I be that.
That's true. That's true.
I
Yeah.
will never teach like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. The
So they took an option off
like
your
you said,
table.
yeah. It's like that was such a negative um atmosphere that I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So I would never engage in that kind of thing if I was to coach like a sport or something. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to them like that. They don't need that. I remember being on the receiving side of that. It's not fun, like
Yeah. And it
yeah.
really doesn't help. I mean,
No.
if it manifested as some sort of improvement, if there were some what's the term, KPI, that
Hmm.
being yelled at, oh wow, now they're doing better.
Yeah.
I wonder if I yell louder. But other than that, basic, feedback engineering says, huh,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not going to
here are
work.
these downtrodden, crestfallen kids doing their best,
Yeah.
trying to make mom and dad smile in the stands, or mom or dad and dad or whatever. But they're trying their best because families are watching,
Hmm.
or their friends are with them on the court and they want to help
Yeah.
hold them up. And it's like, wow, find the pot,
Yeah. It's
find the
like,
fun, and poof.
yeah. And I think if they
But
had
if you take the
changed,
fun out of it, poof,
yeah.
the job.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you are thinking about doing speaking engagements, at least
Oh
from the
yes,
webinar
as soon
standpoint,
as
right?
as
Oh,
as
cool.
soon as they
Cool.
open, as soon as we can gather in groups again, I
Hmm.
will be certified for groups who want to learn how and how clear simplicity can be. and how to
That's cool.
apply those concepts. And corporations are all about Kaizen, which is basically the Japanese incremental improvement.
Mm-hmm.
At the absolute utmost level of athletics, they're all about that. What can I do to increase this one part?
Mm-hmm.
When Usain Bolt runs 100, he has a blocks coach. He has a posture coach. He
Yep.
has, a main run coach. He
Yep.
coach.
Mm-hmm.
Each piece, he's looking for that tiny thousandth of a second.
Yeah.
I run harder than he can. I can put more force from foot than he could ever think of by virtue of my
Yeah.
size. Will I ever get that force propelling me as quickly 100 meters down a track as he does?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There,
I
there's
don't
a, there's
want
another
to.
analogy. Yeah. There's another analogy of this that I was thinking about because we were talking about lifting earlier. But in Olympic lifting, people will practice and practice for 2 years, 3 years, hoping for like a 1 kilo increase, which is only like 2.2 pounds. And it's a huge deal. Like, especially at the top levels, like they've already like Olympic levels, national levels, those guys are already kind of peaked, and they're just trying to squeeze out that one extra kilo, like,
And so they
yeah,
have how many nutritionists on board, how
exactly.
many connective tissue for maximum
Yep.
elasticity.
Yep.
The
Looking
science
at
that
like,
goes into it is stonkering.
yeah, there's like acceleration speed of the bar off the ground. There's like, there's a certain form like it's geometry that it's supposed to follow. So they're like charting out the geometry like of the person's like pull from the ground and stuff like in the Olympics, and it's insane.
The edge where you can get to the edge without hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're always trying to push it further and further, just enough to where they're like about to be past their peak, and then it's like, okay, let's go back down, and then we'll work our way back up to a new peak, and and it's this constant iteration, and they're just doing it for that little just 1 kilo, and it's like a 2 or 3 year long process,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At that level, it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but it's all about the iterations.
Yeah.
It's all
Exactly.
about putting in the floor time, putting in the iron time, putting in,
Mm-hmm.
you self-care afterwards, taking care of their
Mm-hmm.
hands,
Yeah. Yeah.
wrists, taking care of, their joints.
Mm-hmm. And this goes back to
The,
your plus one good is like their goal might seem to most people small. It's like one kilo or a fraction of a second faster for Usain Bolt, but they have all these small incremental wins like on the blocks, on the pull, on the finish that they have to accomplish. So they could benefit from this sort of system where they're like, okay, in these 15 minutes I need to accomplish or I want to accomplish this particular purpose or I have this purpose, and their end goal might seem small, like relatively speaking, but it's huge to them. And all those
mm-hmm.
incremental wins throughout the time is what they're looking for.
Yeah. And when they have their
Yeah.
logs, just have access to their logs, you say, were you over there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you
Yeah. And
doing
then
your,
mm-hmm.
and for some people, the absolute bests vary widely, even in a single person from day to day.
Yes.
And, you've got to respect that and say, I plan to do this, and here's where I came a little short.
Mm-hmm.
How can I, bring in another resource, bring in other support,
Right.
or bring in an angle that I improve this next
Mm-hmm.
time?
Right. And you have the record, then like from the journaling and
Yeah.
stuff, you can identify those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So it.
Game, some people
Yeah.
are, oh, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy with that. If I can maintain that, that's success. That's on
Yes.
purpose. That's where I
Yes.
am.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
If,
Yeah,
you know,
sometimes
I'd
maintenance
really
is
like to
success.
see that grow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes maintenance is success. That is what your success is just maintaining. So,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you're approaching this from multiple angles. You talked about the journal, an ebook, the public speaking and stuff. Um, if somebody wants to find these resources, where should they go? Is there somewhere to go now, or is that going to be coming in the future?
The website will be coming in the future. If you
Okay.
absolutely have to have the score sheet
Hmm.
or the ebook, send an email to ross@plusonegood.com. The
Okay.
website
Okay.
isn't even up yet, but I've got the email built.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I
You gotta
had
plan
to.
that kind of stuff ahead. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, I the order of operations for building out the website course, for building out, the payment area, for building out the, okay, what am I going to do by way of a guarantee? I
Hmm.
decided I'm not going to do a guarantee. I'm going to do a contract. Anybody who
Okay.
purchases the book or purchases the course or prepays annual for the membership
Okay.
has to give it a year.
Huh.
Whether
Okay.
they use it or it sits collecting digital dust on their hard drive, they have to give it a year.
Hmm.
If at the end of that year it isn't what I say it is and it doesn't work for them, they'll have a 2-week window to contact me and get their money back.
Okay. Hmm.
A lot of people offering information products, they don't guarantee. They don't have any guarantee. They just say, here,
Right.
you information, I've got the money, that's it, done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
On the flip side of the coin, there's people downloads even finished. And I don't really
Mm.
think that's fair either.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta strike
So
a
give
balance.
it a year. There may be people who buy it who, I'm not in this right now. I may be
Yeah.
ready in a month. I may be ready in 3. I may be ready in 6. And I'll start in it and I'll do it and I'll love it. And that'll be everything. And I may be ready
Okay.
to take the next step. And there may be people who buy it, do it just as soon as it's available to be. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I might have a year and get
Yeah. Yeah.
that to me.
Interesting. Yeah. That seems fair. Yeah. So what I've been doing on the show to kind of highlight the interconnections of people is I've been asking for the guests to give like 2 or 3 people that might be interesting people to talk to that they're connected to. That way I continue the 6 degrees of connection. And then I could possibly reach out to them at some point and talk to them as well. So I was wondering if you had some people that might be interesting.
One of my mentors' names is Stephen Barnes.
Okay.
He is a New York Times bestselling author. He is a 7th Dan black belt
Hmm.
in karate.
Hmm.
Uh, Hollywood screenwriter. He did an episode of the most recent Twilight Zone, and he did an episode of
Oh,
Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. So there's a
I
span of
love the old
time for
Twilight
you.
Zone. I love the old Twilight Zone. I haven't seen the new one yet, but I've heard good
Yeah.
things.
Jordan, I think it's Jordan Peele, season 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Episode of that with his wife, Tanana
Wow,
Reeve.
wow.
And his story spans decades. And
Hmm.
when I was looking around at emulate, there's a lot of people who teach from their success.
Mm-hmm.
He teaches from his failures,
Mm.
his mistakes. There are a lot of people who teach one thing and do something else. This man's integrity is beyond parallel.
Okay.
He does what he says what he does, and he supports nonstop.
Hmm. Okay. Cool.
I'd have him adopt me if he wasn't so close. I would. He's that great a guy.
Wow. Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Is
that's
there anything
Stephen.
else
I'm
you
trying to
want to?
think. Um, Or for those who want to maybe short circuit the process, you've got an idea of something kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and you really want to learn how to serve it from the stage. Kristen might be a little bit harder to get hold of. Kristen,
Okay.
she does. She serves from the stage. She teaches how. And if I hadn't been in the room and seen her do it, I'd still doubt the.
Okay.
She is just absolutely awesome.
Huh. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to let anybody know about, resources or information?
If you would be part of the live presentation of the course, send me an email. I will be
Okay.
charging the same as I will be charging that recorded, and it's recorded and evergreen, and whether I'm there or not. But for
Mm-hmm.
the live recorded participants, so
Okay.
here's a gift for Seth's listeners. If you get involved with the beta live presentation of the course and you complete all 6 episodes, and they're going to be about an hour, 45
Okay.
minutes to 50 minutes, me presenting and interaction, and then a Q&A session as long as it needs. But
Okay.
it'll only be about 45 or 50 minutes of structured presentation. But anyone who gets the course as part of the beta team and goes live and
Mm-hmm.
stays all 6 parts gets a 50%
Oh, hey.
by way of appreciation.
This is kind of the beta version of your 1 year policy, but you want them to actually complete it, and then they get part of it back. It's a little of the same thinking, right? Like,
This is even better because complete it, give them half back.
yeah,
It's
right,
like a
right,
50% discount, except at the tail end. Then,
right.
if a year out, the rest of their investment back, they can still get that.
Oh, wow. That's extremely generous.
So it'll
Okay,
be
cool.
it'll be $497,
Okay.
almost $500. But if you go through and participate, or show up with video for all 6 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be a week apart. At the end of the 6th episode, I'll be sending rebates
Okay, cool.
for
And
half.
do you want to give your email address again one more time if people want to contact you about that?
Ross, ROSS, plus, it's PLUS, 1, good, GOOD.com.
Cool. And I'll put that in the comments too, like in the show description and stuff too, so people can hit that. But I wanted to make sure that you said it again.
Thank you.
Well, Ross,
Yeah,
if there's, oh, go ahead.
I'm hoping to get the website up as soon as possible, like within a week. And
Oh,
when I
okay,
do, it will be plus1good.com.
okay.
Or and yeah, I'll come around to the link to the actual introduction letter or the introduction webinar when I get up, and people will be able to view the different ways they can participate with the good formula serve them.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, if you have nothing else to talk about, or there's anything eh, or if you don't have anything else you want to talk about, then I guess I'll go ahead and let you go. I mean, I've already taken up an hour of your time, so I want to be respectful of your time and stuff. So we can go ahead and end this. But I really appreciate you coming on.
Have any further questions about the program for your listeners? I'm all ears.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If there's any questions or anything like that, or I think of something, I'll go ahead and reach out to you, and I'll go ahead and post about that and stuff. If I can get you to stick around for a little bit after we end recording, just for some technical stuff,
Yes,
that'd be
sir.
awesome. But if that's all that we have, then I guess I'll go ahead and end this episode if that sounds good. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.